Earthquake fans, it is now Tuesday, September 24th at 6:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I have a big SoCal warning to make. And I'm sitting right on top of the Garlock and San Andreas Fault as I speak, so I feel a slight bit jittery today as I issue my SoCal warning. Of course, it may or may not happen. However, there is certainly a strong enough potential for me to issue a warning for Southern California. But before I get into the big SoCal warning, let's get caught up on some of my previous warnings and some earthquake news since my last video update. And I closed out my previous video with 3 earthquake warnings, one in the Vanuatu Islands. I know it's so easy to say Vanuatu, but the proper pronunciation, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've looked at, is Vanuatu Islands. I had another warning on a previous video for the Gulf of Alaska region, and I remember specifically saying a little southwest of Anchorage. And I also had another warning in the Arabian Sea to Mediterranean Sea, specifically mentioning Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Cyprus, and Lebanon. And there was some success there. So I tried to be as precise as I could be for this particular situation, and I was really looking for Iran, Iraq, Turkey border, and I had extended it out to the Mediterranean Sea near Cyprus and Lebanon and Turkey. And if you look here, I got a 4.9 in Greece, and I was like, I'm looking at that, I'm like, come on. I'm looking at this island in Cyprus, and if all I had to do was just look at this island and realize that's not Cyprus, that's Greece as well, because I was here in Turkey and the Mediterranean Sea. And I decided not to talk about Israel and Egypt, and I just thought that was overkill. So I really just wanted this area right here. And so it looks like the 4.9 was in Greece. I'm going to go ahead and snatch a little credit for that. And even if you don't give me credit for that, give me credit for the 4.9 that hit northern Turkey right here. Haha, okay? And give me credit for right here in Iran and Iraq. Give me credit for my 4.7 there. Okay, so no matter which way it goes, I was on the right track with my earthquake warnings for Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Syria. Cyprus, Syria, Lebanon. I'm going to go ahead and consider that warning a success. Let me get into Alaska. All right. And yeah, I don't have the fancy map with all the cute stuff. I just want to get straight to the meat and potatoes with this one today. Just get right into it. So I had warned the Gulf of Alaska area, and I was looking for southwest of Anchorage in this Gulf of Alaska and the island chain. And my warning, it struck. I probably was cutting it off right around here. And then the earthquake struck just a little bit to the left of what I had in mind. I really wanted this area on in Anchorage, on into the coast here where Juneau is, and also Kodiak. So I was looking for that general area, and these quakes struck slightly to the left. But don't tell anybody. I'm going to take credit for that too. Okay? Because my ideas were on the right track. So let's see what struck. Late last night, a 5.3 struck. And it was also a 4.0 struck in that same spot. And a 4.1 struck in the same spot. And I had warned for at least a 4.5, I believe, on up to the potential of a 5.5, or I might have said 4.7, and then off video on some message boards I had said there's potential for it to be 5.5-ish or even a little bit larger. And so I'm going to go ahead and take credit for that one. As far as the Vanuatu Islands goes, I'm still striking out over there because this 5.4 struck before my warning. That was on September 20th. So nothing has happened there since. There has been in the Fiji Islands this 5.3. And what if this 5.3 erupts over here and I get a little bit of a larger quake? Might happen. But if it comes in significantly larger, then I probably underestimated what was happening there. And but so far, I'm striking out in Vanuatu. But I still have, I believe, 2 more days for my warning to expire because I believe I issued a 72-hour warning. So in some other news, I'm literally kicking myself for shortcutting the other side of the Pacific here and the globe because it is certainly possible I would have seen what happened in Puerto Rico coming if I had focused on it. And I very specifically, with my earthquake warning, I very specifically wanted my video to not have too many. I didn't want to do the whole globe. I didn't want to do the whole planet. And I knew I would miss earthquakes because forecasting earthquakes involves looking at basically every earthquake on the map and trying to plan where it's going to strike next. And I purposely sidestepped the United States, Mexico, Southern America down here, and that also includes this crossover into Belize, Cuba, Haiti, and Puerto Rico. So I specifically avoided that and wanted to do another forecast video when I was ready to pick up those earthquakes. And now I'm kicking myself because if I had just decided to include that area in my analysis, I would have researched it and maybe I would have been right, maybe I would have been wrong in the location, but I certainly would have been able to see something coming. So hopefully I'll get my act together and be able to analyze even more quakes in a future video, but I'm definitely kicking myself for that. And in Puerto Rico, of course, they got hammered with the 6.3, and there's more sizable activity there. Let's look a little bit closer. And you'll see the cluster of quakes. And thankfully, this was all offshore. Because if it had hit the mainland, that would have definitely caused some damage. But you've got the 6.0. That was the 6.3. I think they dropped it down to a 6.0. 5.1 here. 4.4, which I believe was a 4.7. That was lowered to a 4.4. 4.3 right here. And actually in the last hour, probably while I was talking, or preparing for this, a 4.7. So lots of activity there. And these quakes here in Puerto Rico, they have literally stirred up a lot of trouble that I'm concerned about here on the West Coast, because these quakes have caused some stress between the Java Trench, the Mid-Indian Ridge, and the Southwest Indian Ridge. Where is that? Oh, it's over here. Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get my act together here. Okay, the Java Trench is over here. The Southeast Indian Ridge is over here. And the Southwest Indian Ridge is here. I want you to take a look at these earthquakes right here. This is bad news for SoCal. All right, so got a cluster of sizable quakes in here. Got a 6.1, got a 5.1, another 5.1, and a 4.9. And that's all probably within the last 3-4 hours. So with that said, I'm jumping back over here into SoCal. I'm jumping into the antipode location. We've got some antipode trouble, and we've got some trouble offshore here in the Juan de Fuca. 3.1 off the coast of Oregon as we're all waking up this morning. So, or overnight. So we've got some trouble. We've got pressure coming in from Northern California right off the Juan de Fuca into the San Andreas. And we've got an antipode hit with a lot of activity. And so because of that, literally because of that, I'm left with no alternative other than to issue a warning for a 6.0 magnitude level earthquake to strike California. And it can land offshore. That's certainly a possibility that it lands offshore, and let's hope it does. But it can also land in Northern California. It may even hit Baja California, okay? But the most likely area I still think is the hotspot, the eastern shear zone in central to southern California. I'm concerned with the Ridgecrest area again. Owens Valley is a little bit of a concern, but I'm more interested in the eastern shear zone and the Ridgecrest area. Those are my top priorities, and anything involving the San Andreas. So that can include the San Andreas, the Hayward Fault, anything branched and linked with the San Andreas, the offshoot of the San Andreas, faults that run parallel to the San Andreas, or the eastern shear zone. Those concern me. Anything that is applied pressure by the San Andreas or the shear zone directly, not indirectly, but directly, those are in play as well, like the Garlock Fault. But I really am more concerned with the Ridgecrest area, the eastern shear zone, and the Salton Sea area of the southern San Andreas, as well as the central San Andreas near Parkfield. It's like a triangle of concern that I have. Parkfield, Mojave Desert, eastern shear zone, Ridgecrest area, Salton Sea. And hit that triangle right in there. Those are my biggest concerns for upwards of a 6.0. Technically speaking, I see the energy is more likely to hit a 5.5-ish, but I've always got to step up my game a little bit to a 6.0 because the energy could definitely come in stronger than a 5.5. So I'm issuing that warning for Southern California over the next 7 days. Most likely would be about 72 hours, within 72 hours from now. And adding to the San Andreas concern is that the hold on a second. I've got to look this up here. The South Coast Air Quality Management District has issued an odor advisory for the Coachella Valley in Southern California, and there's been an extension of that warning into other parts of Southern California because the National Weather Service is expecting southern winds to travel northbound and hit the Salton Sea and carry a sulfuric odor. I guess it's hydrogen sulfide. The odor of the hydrogen sulfide is going to go up north into LA as far north as Santa Clarita. And that should happen over the next 24 to 36 hours is the most likely time frame for this funky hydrogen sulfide to spread throughout Southern California. And so much of SoCal is on notice for this. And when you smell odors coming out of the Salton Sea, that's indicative of geysers, water springs, San Andreas creep. So I don't like it. Okay, we've got antipodes going crazy. We've got this 6.0 risk in Southern California, and then we've got the Salton Sea just stanking up the joint. So I don't like what I see. So I have to issue the warning, and hopefully I'm wrong. And you know what? I'm not bashful. I'm not one to act like I'm God and, know everything. All I can do is research, apply intuition, and do a what's the risk versus a normal day analysis. And when I look at the risk versus a normal day analysis, I see a significant difference in the everyday versus the next few days. And the significant difference is all the pressure coming off the antipodes, the pressure dumping in to the Juan de Fuca, the fact that the San Andreas has been spitting out all kinds of 1.5s, 2.0s, 2.5s, 3.2s, 3.1s, all kinds of activity on the northern end, the central end, and the southern end of the San Andreas over the course of the last couple months. And it's undeniable that the risk is different than the past 20 or so years since the Northridge 1994 quake hit, and up until the recent Ridgecrest event in July. So I don't see another 20-year period, at least not for the next year or two. I don't see another 20-year period that's as, gentle and kind and friendly to Southern Californians as we've seen. I think that era is over. We've got to turn the page. Turn it. And we're moving on to a very busy period in SoCal when it comes to earthquakes. So with that said, I'll sign off. Connect this early part of this video right now to what I had said a few days ago with my 72-hour earthquake warning, and you'll see I'm definitely on to something with the earthquake tracking. I'm going to try to get better and do more. But with that all said, I've got to issue another warning, and that's for Southern California. And of course, Central California and Northern California is in play. But I got to issue a warning for Central and Southern California for upwards of a 6.0 magnitude earthquake over the next 72 hours to 7 days. Hopefully, I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, what's going to end up happening is somewhere else down the pipeline is going to get hit with that energy. So it may sprinkle down into the Gulf of California, go back through the Middle America Trench, and it may hit the Cayman Islands back into Puerto Rico. It may do that because I believe earthquake energy travels along plate boundaries. I firmly believe that. And so if it doesn't hit SoCal, may take longer than 72 hours, or it may take longer than 7 days. It might take 8, 9, 10, and travel right back through this point and smack Puerto Rico again. It's very possible. It may even skip Puerto Rico and smack the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. But for now, I've got to issue the warning right here in SoCal. Okay? So be safe. If you're low on water, go stock up, and you'll thank me later for doing that. Because if a massive earthquake hits, if Southern California loses power for an extended period of time, if there's any bridges that collapse, there will be some scandalous merchants out there that might turn a $1.19 gallon of water into a $35 gallon of water. It's very possible. It happened during the 1994 earthquake. So if it costs you $35 to have a bunch of water for you and your family, I'd rather do that and get all kinds of gallons, 35 gallons worth of water, than to pay $35 for 1 gallon of water or more. Okay, so I got to issue the warning. And again, hopefully I'm wrong. So with that said, I'll sign off, and we'll be in touch. And thank you for following me, and hope you can subscribe. All right, take care. Have a good night.